All right, today I'm going to be demoing the shading of the spheres, the cones, to make them give the illusion of 3-dimension. You're going to use the tools that you know from the past, which is blending, blending your colored pencils because you learned to layer your colored pencils. But we're also going to be doing a practice worksheet in the ebony pencil, which can get really, really dark, almost to a dark black. And I would also maybe use a number 2 pencil for your lighter areas if you need to. So using both the color pencils on one worksheet and using just ebony on another worksheet. So you'll be doing 2 worksheets, all right? I will demo both the ebony and I will do a sample of the colored pencil, all right? I'm gonna start with the sphere. If you guys remember, there was the highlight, was the lightest part. That's where your light source is coming from. If you take a look, there's a little sun giving you an example of where your light source should be coming from. And if you remember on the PowerPoint, there was a nice oval where they showed where the light source was. Please don't draw that oval in, all right? Because that's not how it's gonna look. I typically will take my number 2 pencil and I'll lay it down on its side and lightly lay down an area of really, really light gray. So your light source starts to get defined by a soft edge and not by a hard oval line. All right? And you can bring that gray all the way down. Remember, your highlight never touches the edge. So to go ahead and take that gray all the way up to the edge. You remember I talked about that a little bit with your tattooing as well, when you had your lightest color up top. You always put that second color a little bit above it just to define that edge a little bit. Well, this also is the case with shading your shapes as well. Your medium tone is going to be across your entire sphere. And if you remember, I'm going to switch over to the ebony here. The core of the shadow is going to be that darkest area on the sphere towards the back, which is going to be opposite, of course, of your light source. So you can lay down. It's easier to start a little bit lighter and then to continue to push your values a little bit darker. I don't want to see a light gray sphere. I want to see a full range of really light to almost black. So there's that core. And then if you remember, the reflected light is going to be slightly lighter on the back side of the ball. But remember, it's not going to be a light gray because obviously it's going to be on the shadowed side. So you do still want to have it be fairly dark. Shadow. There we go. I'm going to darken it up a little bit around here. And you can see I drew in the cast shadows for you already. You can just take your ebony pencil or whatever your darkest color pencil happens to be and just color those areas in. Because obviously that's going to be your cast shadow underneath. If your area, if you need to lighten it up a little bit, you can just kind of dab it with your color or with your eraser, and you can blend them with your pencil, or excuse me, with your finger if you'd like. If you're one that likes to soften your pencil, just using your finger will slightly blend those lines in for you. I will leave my examples up so you guys can reference them while doing these. These are each worth 10 points apiece, so it's a total of 20 points. I would put the effort in because 20 points is a lot of points when you're talking about only 3 projects per quarter. So you want to make sure you do a good job on your worksheets. So there's an example of just a sphere in pencil. And then you will continue to do the cylinder and the cone and the square. I'm just going to do another example on here using my colored pencils. Once again, make a selection of colors that blend. You know, you can do all your warm colors, which would be your values of reds, oranges, and yellows, or you can do, I'm just doing a palette of green. But then for a little bit of shadow, I'm going to pull that blue in again. Kind of like the example with the tattoo, I pulled a little bit of blue in for that shadow. All right, light source is going to be on the left side on this one. So I'm going to lay down my lightest color down the left side, which is going to be the chartreuse green. And it's going to be the same process of blending, so you guys can overlap and layer just like you learned to do with your last project. The top, of course, since there's a lot of the light source being cast across the top, there is going to be a lot of your lightest color on the top of your shape. If you completely bomb a shape and you feel like your sphere does not look very sphery, go ahead and take a circle maker, draw it on the back, X out the one, I'll grade the one in the back. So if your first attempt is not your best, then by all means draw another one and try again. All right, I'm working into my second color, which is going to be the spring green. And highlight does not touch the edge, so I'm going to pull a little bit of that spring green. And remember, I'm just layering my colors really lightly at first. That'll go into the shadow side, which will be my darkest green. I'm noticing I'm following the curve of the belly. I'm curving my lines instead of going straight across. I'm curving them a bit to show the shape of the cylinder. If you do curve your lines, it's going to naturally look like there's a belly on your shape, where if your line is straight, it's going to start to read really flat. So as I'm laying my color down, I'm actually providing a bit of a curve to follow that shape. You can just kind of follow the shape of the base. That'll be kind of this type of curve you'd want to use. All right, I repeat that process, laying down my color one more time. And then what do we do to get the blend? Yep, take your lightest color and pull it all the way back. Keep in mind, again, if you're using white for one of your lightest colors, or if you need to make a lighter shade of pink or a lighter shade of blue, do not pull your white. All right, so I'm going to take my chartreuse then. And keep in mind that that lightest color might make everything a little lighter than you prefer it to be, so you always can bring your colors back if you need to. But get rid of all that white. You want to see your colors to be nice and bright. And I haven't yet to use the indigo blue. I'm going to put that in at the end to make it nice and rich. Because yes, right now my dark colors are very much getting lost. Gotta bring those back. So I'll start with just my dark green, bring that back. And then I'll come back with my indigo and start to bring that in. Keep in mind the top of the cylinder, obviously it's going to be quite light because of the fact that it's getting hit by the light source completely. All right, now I'll take my indigo. Just to make it that much richer, remember pushing your values, you want to get a nice range of color. It's easy just to do the greens, but it brings it that much more of a richness to bring in that little bit of a blue. And then I'll use my blue as my shadow color as well. Still following that curve. Might even take a little bit of my dark green, since that spring green got a bit lost on this side. I might feather that in just a little bit. That helps define this outer edge. All right, take my indigo. Or whatever your darkest color. You can lay down your dark green. Either would be fine. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do the shadow, as long as you have it colored in somehow. I'm just layering the two colors to stay within that family, I guess would be. All right. Now the one thing I'm asked when you do your colored pencil sheet, I want you to use a variety of different colors. You can see in my sample, I did warm colors, cool colors. And I used a variety of color. I did my palette of colors for each. I've noticed students in the past will take dark green and they'll shade it just with a single color, which inevitably is the same thing as just using a pencil. All right, so I do want to see a range at least 3 to 4 colors within each one of your shapes.